Voila. Hello everyone, welcome to Burnout Medicine, where we burn out burnout. It's me, Dr. V. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you haven't done so, please do so. Like, share, subscribe, comment in the comments below, and let's get into it. Before I start, all thoughts are my own. They do not represent any institution I work for or have worked for in the past. All these thoughts are my own, Dr. V's thoughts, and that is that. We got that out the way. Today I want to talk about balance, right? That thing where you think of a person on a tightrope, you think of the scale, you think of an even exchange in value or worth. And one of the common things we see in the healthcare field, especially when we're looking for jobs and working, is a good work-life balance. Excuse me. And I think, what does that mean to achieve balance, to achieve work-life balance? And I feel like we struggle with that sometimes because, one, we don't define it most of the time for ourselves. And then two, we may need to adjust how we define it, right? Because we're thinking, when we think balance, a lot of people think of the scale, right? And even weight, right? Not knowing that achieving that even weight, you may not necessarily have the same amount of pieces of that thing to achieve even weight or even value. And what I mean by that is just take gold and steel, right? Gold's worth more than steel. So even though you can put a pound of gold and a pound of steel on the scale, they will be balanced in a sense. But that 1 pound of gold is probably hundreds of times worth more than that pound of steel. So even though even weight was achieved, even value wasn't achieved. And I think part of the reason we struggle with burnout or moral injury is because we can't achieve that kind of definition of balance, that even weight or even time, I should say. We can't achieve that type of balance at home most of the time, right? For some of us, we may work only 40-hour weeks. For others, it may be an 80-hour week. And if you include sleeping, eating, showering, doing errands, and all that, that time you spend for yourself or for your family gets smaller. So that when you do spend time, it feels rushed. It almost feels like it's out of control, that I'm just kind of putting things together just so I can spend the time, because then I have to go ahead and use the time for other things that are work related, or you have to be at work in general. And throughout the years, I've been thinking about what's balance for me and how has that helped me navigate through being at work majority of the time, but maximizing and enjoying the time that I spend with, either for myself or family or friends. And I think back to when I went to a summer camp for those who wanted to be in medicine back when I was in high school. And there was a panel of physicians there, and it was like a Q&A session. And one of the students there asked one of these providers who was an OBGYN about how is it that you're able to have a family and be a doctor, right? Perfectly legitimate question for a high school student looking to get into medicine. Excuse me. And his answer stuck with me since I was 16 years old up until now. And he said, you know what? Being a doctor and having a family is difficult. But what I've come to realize is you can be excellent at everything. You can be an excellent provider. You could be an excellent son, husband, wife, daughter, uncle, aunt, grandparent, wherever you are. But you can't be excellent at all those things at the same time. And that really stuck with me and spoke with me because it shed some light of how I think about balance. And the way I think about balance is, am I getting even value, right? Do I feel like the time that I spend with my family, even though it may be way less time than I spend at work, what type of value am I bringing to that time, right? And what type of energy and what type of excellence am I bringing to that time so that it tips the scales, making that time so worth it that I forget about work, that I forget about what I have to do when I get back, that it makes working all those hours leading up to just having those moments special and precious. And I think that's where the heart of work-life balance comes in. It's you're never gonna have as much time off as you are working, especially in the healthcare field. Maybe so in other fields, or if you decide to become an entrepreneur, start a side business, or start a whole new business, which is another topic for another day. Unless you decide to do that, it's really hard to achieve that in the healthcare field, right? Some of us only have, 2 to 4 weeks of PTO, or we accrue PTO as we go along, or we're capped at a certain point. So achieving that balance, we have to first define it. And I challenge you to think of what is balance to you, right? Leave a comment in the comment below. What is balance to you? What is work-life balance? And for me, it's placing high value on the time that I have away from work, bringing my best, bringing my A game every time when I'm spending time with my family, with my friends, or doing something for myself, such that those moments will be memorable, those moments will be precious, and those moments will stick with you forever, and it will overshadow, actually tip the scales to where doing all that work is going to be worth it. And it's refocusing your mind, refocusing your energy in that regard. And how do we achieve that? Right? Because that's the next thing. You define something, how do we achieve it? And I think it takes some planning on our part, right? Sometimes it's hard to be spontaneous depending on what your work is. But essentially it's developing that mindset of, this is the one weekend out this month that I have off. I'm going to go ahead and bring my best. And it's going to make the best out of the situation. I'm going to go ahead and bring my A game. I'm going to go ahead and make sure we have the time of our lives right here. Because I'm going to treat this moment, not as if it's your last, but I'm going to treat this moment as my gift, not only to myself, but to my family, to my friends, as a gift. That way, again, it just sticks with you. It just stays with you throughout. And it's going to require some planning on our part, right? Really knowing what our schedule is and how can we maximize that time, and really thinking about what goals we want to achieve during that time, right? Setting goals. If you don't set any goals, you don't set anything, how can you expect to bring your A game? How can you expect to be excellent? Sure, you can do things spontaneously, but sometimes in our line of work, we have to be proactive in what we do so we can maximize that time. I can tell you right now, my mother wouldn't care if I flew to Florida right now and just spent 15 minutes with her, because those 15 minutes will be the best 15 minutes there, because she doesn't see me often. It'll be the best 15 minutes for me as well. And I think we have to get out of the mindset of, quantifying it, like how much, as opposed to, instead of thinking about how much time we put in, like how much quality did we bring to it, how much quality we got out of it. So it's going to take planning to achieve that, right? You want to be excellent at everything you plan, right? You want to do well on the test, you plan your studies, you plan your study time. If you want to look at sports figures, right? They want to do well in the game. What they do, they practice, they plan for it. So we have to plan ahead of time. Right? And if you have a spouse in that, get everyone involved. You don't have to put the burden on your shoulders, right? Get everyone involved so everyone is bringing something to the table, and it just increases the value of that time. And then to maintain it is, again, it's simply being excellent when the time calls for you to be excellent. When the time calls for you to be an excellent provider, be that excellent provider. When the time calls for you to be that excellent father, son, mom, daughter, uncle, aunt, etc., be that at that moment. And you will find that not only you have achieved a work-life balance, but now you've tipped the scales to where the value of that time with family and friends or yourself have exceeded whatever value you place at work. And I understand for some of we're working multiple shifts, maybe pushing 100-hour weeks, which is crazy. In that scenario, I think it's best to rethink again. What are your goals? Because if your value is going to be placed on work, then yeah, you're going to put more on the work side, and it's going to tip the scales. But for you, that's a balance, right? So to recap, work-life balance should be, what values are we placing on the time that we have, and what are we doing with that time? To achieve that, we got to decide first, what are our goals? What are we trying to achieve with that time? How much value are we placing on certain things? Are we placing more value with family time, or are we placing more value with work? Or maybe we're looking for an even value. And is your current schedule conducive to achieving that? And then bring in your A game. Every time you're spending time with your family, there should be no like, oh man, I can't believe I gotta spend time with the kids, or it should be like, I get to spend time with the kids. This is my moment. This is my moment to be an excellent, whomever you are to those kids, or you got your spouse. This is my moment to be excellent for my spouse, because this is the time that we're gonna make a memory out this. This is gonna last forever. I know it sounds cheesy, I know it sounds but come with that mindset, and this portion of our work life that causes this burnout, right? This moral injury, because we feel like we're not achieving the goals at home because of our work. It will help us combat that day in and day out. It'll help us overcome it. And we're going to find that it'll be just a part of our routine, our repertoire, so that it's not a burden anymore. It's not a chore to plan ahead. We get excited to plan it. It's like a new project, like starting a new business, or starting a new research thing. If research is your thing, it's like, wow, oh man, I'm so excited. I'm going to plan this out. And planning out things can be done throughout the day, and even time off work, and again, get others involved. But again, what is balance to you? How do we achieve it? How do we maintain it? Leave your comments in the comments below. Thank you again all for tuning in. I appreciate the time. Love you all. Please like, share, subscribe, comment if you haven't done so already. Until next time, peace.
Thank you.